yourself muted, and I'm going to admit the current guests.
Call over internet. Hey,
Welcome. Hi, welcome everybody to Wild Nevada. We'll be starting in a moment. We're going to let a few people come in and start in a couple of minutes. So go ahead and get yourself situated.
It's a thing about Wild Nevada. You might enjoy watching.
If you're watching this on Zoom, just make sure to mute yourself so that we can
It's a discussion.
make sure to respect people who are talking. And we'll start in a few minutes.
Hey, Tori, really quick, can you see us on video or no?
No, I cannot see you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, for everybody that's joining us in, welcome to Wild Nevada. We're going to start in just a moment or so.
Well, I want to say hello to Tyler. Hi, Tyler.
Hello. Hello. Hey, Tyler, how's it going?
Is that an elk? No. A longhorn a longhorn something?
Bighorn sheep.
Bighorn sheep. You look marvelous.
That is one of our very special guests who I will introduce in a moment, but we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Wild Nevada. This is a celebration of Wildlife Conservation Day. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tori Soriano, and I'm a field organizer with the Nevada Conservation League. And I will have my co-host Lily introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Lily, also from the Nevada Conservation League, representing the North.
And I'll be representing the South. We wanted a special day where we can bring the wild directly to your homes in celebration of today. Before we begin, I just want to go over a few ground rules. Whether you're watching this on Facebook Live or if you are joining us on Zoom, you're able to participate in all of the activities and enjoy our presentations. If you're on Zoom, just make sure to keep yourself muted. If you decide to stop on in and stop by, I might have to mute you just so that we can have respect to our guest speakers and make sure everything is heard. If you have something to say, you can go ahead and type it in the chat on Zoom or type it on Facebook in the comments section. And one of my moderators will let me know and we can get those questions answered or get your comments heard. If you have typing issues, You can always unmute yourself at a prompt time when there's silence or we're making a transition, and you can ask your question and we can get those answered. But other than that, just make sure to be quiet and we can have some respect for our guest speakers. All right, the agenda for today. First, I'm going to go over a little bit about Wildlife Conservation Day and its history. Then we'll have our very first guest speaker, Sandy Croteau from the Protectors of Tule Springs. Then we'll go on our very first virtual hike, and this will be with Lily up in Northern Nevada. Then we'll have our second guest speaker, Russell Coleman from the Nevada Wildlife Federation. Then I will lead you guys on a Southern Nevada virtual hike after that. And then we'll end it with some current events and next steps on how you can get involved for Wildlife Conservation Day. But in between each segment during our agenda, we're going to be doing something very special. Wildlife bingo. That's right. Everybody's going to get a wildlife bingo board. I'm going to go ahead and post the link in the chat so you can get access to that. And one of my moderators will post it in the Facebook group so you can get some wildlife bingo chances. Wildlife bingo. And to help me with wildlife bingo, I have a very special guest for this event. Everybody, please give some warm welcomes to Silver, the bighorn sheep. Silver, come and say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight.
No, Silver, thank you for joining us. Silver and I are going to be calling out the bingo, and she'll be congratulating all the winners for tonight's bingo wins. Which will come to be asked, what will we be winning in Wildlife Bingo? For Wildlife Bingo, we will be having postcards sent from each of the events featured, or each of the places featured in today's event. We will be making custom postcards and be sending them to you. So it's a great way to thank you for coming to this event, to remind you to visit these places, and to get a little bit of a memento from tonight. So in order to participate, go ahead and click on the link, and then you will get your own custom wildlife bingo board. You can click on it directly to show that you have that one marked. And then if you think you have bingo, go ahead and just type it in the chat and yell bingo. One of my moderators will check and make sure that you have bingo. And you can check it out yourself. There's a button down here with 3 lines. You can click on that button and see your code. Once you have that code, type it in the chat, and my moderators will double check your board, make sure that you got bingo. And if you win, we will get your information and send you that custom postcard. All right, Silver, how about we do our very first bingo drawing?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so I hope everybody got that link down and everybody's ready for some bingo, because our very first call is the desert tortoise.
Woo, my favorite, other than the bighorn sheep.
Next up, we have the Great Basin Desert.
My home.
After that, we have sage grouse. Silver, have you ever seen a sage grouse?
I have. They're beautiful.
Aw, they look beautiful. And our last one for this segment, let's see. Ooh, the black bear. It's okay, Silver. It's not real. It's fine.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right, there you have it, guys. We have our current calls for wildlife bingo. Silver, wish them all the best of luck.
You got this. You got it. Keep going.
Thank you, Silver. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Wildlife Conservation Day. So Wildlife Conservation Day was established in 2010. It was actually established by Hillary Clinton. And she had this to state about the day. Wildlife cannot be manufactured. And once it's gone, it can never be replenished. Those who profit from it illegally are not just undermining our borders and our economies, they are truly stealing from this next generation. Some powerful words. And with that, Wildlife Conservation Day was enacted. This brings on two different perspectives. The first one is to call awareness about protecting our natural world and its inhabitants. The call to wildlife conservation began in the 1900s. At the time, the bison nearly became extinct, and the passenger penguin disappeared. These two events introduced the public to the concept of extinction. One of the fundamental things about Wildlife Conservation Day is that they want you to look at inhabitants not only around the globe, because the biggest animals that we've heard of are the Siberian tiger, the African elephant, the panda. However, this call for protection is not just of the exotic lands of the globe. It also includes our local area. Park rangers on the front lines of conservation are being killed. Local communities that depend on wildlife for tourism or sustenance are being robbed of their lands and their livelihoods. And this is why we must stand up and preserve what we have in our own neighborhoods before it's too late. The second call for Wildlife Conservation Day is to end wildlife crime. Illegal poaching, illegal smuggling, illegal trafficking of wildlife is a huge problem. There's an underground demand for illegal animal parts and products, and many of those illegal players are involved in trafficking of people, arms, and narcotics. It's pretty devastating. And this is what wildlife conservation hopes to bring: awareness about ways that you can get involved and awareness of the situation that's going on currently. Wildlife Conservation Day is supported by some big corporations such as World Wildlife Fund. We're all out here trying to protect wildlife and bring awareness. All right. Hope you guys learned a little bit about today, December 4th, Wildlife Conservation Day. Why don't we do another bingo drawing? Hey, Silver, we got to do another bingo drawing. These people want to win. In case you missed out and didn't download your bingo banker for the time, I'll go over the previous ones. We had desert tortoise, Great Basin desert, sage grouse, and the black bear. Now we'll go ahead and call 5 more animals or plants within Nevada for our next wildlife bingo round. The first one is antelope bitterbrush. Pretty bitter if you ask me. All right, everyone got antelope bitterbrush? Let's mark off the next one. Mormon tea. Makes for some really good tea. Next up, after Mormon tea, we have bristlecone pine. This is one of the oldest species of trees we have right here in Nevada. Next up, we have mountain quail. Cute little guys.
Mm-hmm.
Silver, how many quail do you see a day?
All kinds. They're my favorite.
And we'll call for our last one, Utah juniper. It's a montane species.
Wow.
Silver, I bet you see Utah juniper all the time up in the mountains.
I love juniper. I love Mormon tea. I see it all the time. It's beautiful stuff.
Well, Silver would know.
You sure would. How are y'all doing on bingo? Anybody close yet? Nod your heads if you're close.
Looks like we got some close.
Yes.
Ooh.
Keep going. You can do it.
We'll have to see if the next round is the round for it. Ooh, someone has a 4 in a row. Oh my gosh, so close.
Oh, getting close. You can do it.
Well, good luck next round for bingo. Thank you, Silver, for joining us for another round of bingo.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't gotten your bingo board yet, make sure to click on the link posted in the Zoom chat or the Facebook Live comment section. I will post it periodically for new players. Go ahead and join and see if you can win some great prizes.
Hey, Tori, what are the prizes tonight?
The prizes is a custom postcard from one of the places that will be featured in today's presentation.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, and probably be from places where you're from, Silver.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to move on to our next section. I would like to introduce Sandy Croteau. She's from the Protectors of Tule Springs. She's going to talk about her work preserving the Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument and neighboring public lands. So with that being said, let me bring on our very first speaker, Sandy.
Hello, Tori, I love the picture. That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Hey, so I think most of you know where Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument is. It's a monument that's not that wasn't an Antiquities Act that the president just signed into law. Into existence. It's a law. It was created. It went through United States Congress, United States Senate, signed by Mr. President Obama in December 19th, 2014. So it's been here. We've had it for a few years now. Yay. We just got our new superintendent, Derek Carter, and he used to be a Green Beret. So he is just motivated, moving. We just love him. So let me tell you what we've been doing. Even with COVID, this is what we're getting done. But one thing good is that when you're out there in the middle of nowhere all by yourself, oh yes, that is the new, we have signed an agreement with the state parks, and actually in that room right there in the corner, right bottom, that's going to be the national parks room. So we'll be working with them and the national parks jointly. That's how the building is now. They just got the funding for inside, and we're looking at opening next year. We can't give you a date because what's happening with COVID, and it's slowed things down. But also where that is, I think most of you know that's on Decatur, right across from Shadow Ridge High School. So if you went up Decatur and past Horse, it'll be on the right-hand side. Also there, I don't know if you all can see, I wasn't sure how this worked. I guess I'm old, I'm sorry. But with the building, oh, you got it. Great, I was just gonna show that picture. That's gonna be the Monumental Plaza, and it goes out, the parking lot's already in. The Monumental Plaza will be on the north side of the parking lot going towards Shadow Ridge High School. The Monumental Mammoth, I think you guys, some of you know about the Mammoth. It was a Girl Scout project that was made with trash. We took off at Tule Springs. If you guys were involved in some of the cleanups, some of the stuff you drug off might be in that little guy. He was created by inspiration of a Girl Scout, and this is her Girl Scout project. And we got the funding, we got the artist that was involved. Lou from Las Vegas did the internal guts, and the outside is the trash that we took off the monument. And that skin was done by Dana Albany from San Francisco. She's married to Flash, who's a co-creator of Burning Man. So guess where our mammoth went? He went to Burning Man. It was a $7,000 just to move this guy because he's pretty darn big. In 5 pieces, we had to take him apart. He was up there, and he was one of the highlights at Burning Man. Then he came back from Burning Man, and he was at, I don't know if you guys went to the fair that we had here, which is Life is Beautiful. But he was the centerpiece of Life is Beautiful. And we were offered a lot of money for him, but we did not sell him because right now he's over at the state. We have him hidden, and he will be coming out and being on that Monumental Plaza right there. You see right where he's going to be. So we were really excited about that. So I just wanted to tell you, one of the things that we did this last year, I don't know if you can see this, but we have, if you like plants, we have the Merriam bear paw poppy, which is white and it's pretty rare. And we also have the yellow poppies, which is an endangered species. We have been tracking every spring where we're finding these poppies. The white poppies, for 7 years, we could never find any. They're back. And this is the 2nd year we GPS those plants. And this is the tracking of those plants. And so the national parks are going to be using these GPS coordinates with the ones that we get in the spring to see where they're moving, because as these plants come up, old ones die, new ones come up, and they don't know a lot about the bear poppy and how they move. Another thing that we've been doing is we have an I'm a Protector program, and that's one of the ones that I headed up. And I'm a Protector is like a neighborhood watch. So we have a patrol that Bashu Dev has for, we do cleanups too, that we walk the fences. So as the fences are taken down or people cut into the property and they get off-road vehicles and stuff out there, we get those fixed pretty fast now. But also we do cleanups. And here's our trailer. I don't know if you guys have been out there, but there's the trailer. And that was donated by, that's another trailer. I'll show you that one too. We're going to be doing some cleanups. We're talking about maybe off the end of Jones. So that's something that we're looking forward to in the future. Right now, we've got a cleanup that we have to do. We do emergency cleanups too. And there's one that just came about by some destruction that was done. This is a mobile exhibit, and the national parks just purchased it. And we just got some of the stuff in today. They're going to have on each side, there's going to be a little button you push and there'll be a canopy coming out on both sides. So we can take it to schools. We can put tables in front of it. Inside, there's going to be park people that will be teaching and showing you stuff about the monument. And we have a new fossil collection that are replicas, and we'll be bringing those with that. So we can go to schools, we can park near the new kiosk and things like that. So that marble unit is going to be very nice for us not having our own building right now. I don't know how many of you know about up north towards the shooting up. When you go up 95, mile marker 103 has been really a bad area where there's a lot of destruction. People have been shooting there. We're going to have hazmat units to go in there to clean that out, and we're working on that. That area is going to be fenced. We're working with the BLM and that on the exact not measurements, but where the border line is so we can get fencing up there. But for now, look at what we got up there. Yay! We've got signs. They're on Jersey barriers, no shooting, no dumping. So now we can start writing tickets. Isn't that the coolest? May not be a lot, but I'll tell you, for us, it's good because we've been up there. It's been a hazard because that's why we had one death from somebody that shot something that blew up and they died. Here's our new kiosk. And I don't know if I sent you that. We have, yep, there's our kiosk. We have, that one is up at Corn Creek. We've got one now on Aliante. We have another at the end of Durango. And then the fourth one, we redone it because it was really torn apart, is over on Eglinton Preserve. So we've got them. But what we're going to be doing is around those kiosks, we are going to put indigenous plants and make it look really nice. So when people get there, they're going to see the plants and not a lot of, because a couple of them are in a really area that has been destroyed. So we're working on that now. We were out there the other day deciding what plants are there and which ones we can fill in with the plants that are in that area. Anything? Also, Tyler had asked about trails. Well, that particular kiosk right there is up at Corn Creek. So we're not going to put trails right there. But the one off of Durango, at the end of Durango and Moccasin, is going to be, this is kind of a secret thing, so don't make a copy of it. Here's our ideas that the national parks are working on for the trails. And the reason that you see all of them, all those lines, is because we're deciding from that kiosk which way to go. And if there's anything out there that might be fossils or something that we don't want people walking on, because we're going to actually make the trails. And so that'll be fun. People get to go on a trail and we'll need help. And this one right here is off Aliante. And if you know where that is, it is, if you go all the way out, is it right? Yeah. If you go all the way out, there it is. If you go to the 215, take Aliante to the end, it's right out there before Horse. It'll be on the right-hand side. So that trail there is going to go through the Badlands. So we've been working really hard. And it will connect to Eglinton, which will make it even a longer trail. It'll be so nice. So do you have any questions or anything?
Yeah, we'll open it up for audience questions. If anyone has any questions for Sandy or about the Protectors of Tule Springs or the work she has done, you can go ahead and post it on Facebook or Zoom.
Yep, and you can get a hold of us at on our website at protectorsoftulesprings.org. Yay! Or info. And if you do the info and say you want to talk to me or you're interested in working out there, just let us know. It's like, for you, it's a day-to-day thing because of COVID. We did 3 hikes and we complied by the rules, and we took temperatures. I mean, we really were out there in the middle of nowhere doing everything that the loss that they said. But we had fun.
Looks like we have a question. Can you tell us about the history of paleontology in that area for those who don't know? This question's from Tyler.
Hi, Tyler. I would say it started in the first people that were out there that found something probably were around the 1920s, really, that documented it. And then in 1955, that's when that was when Finley Hunter and them came out, and that was documented and pictures were taken at the sites that they found. Then after that, that's when more scientists wanted to come. They wanted to test carbon dating out of UCLA. And so they put together these scientists, paleontologists, scientists. They went to the Ice Age Fossil State Park area, which is called the Big Dig site. And they brought earth moving equipment and they started digging trenches. They wanted to see when they dug those trenches, how deep down and the different layers. They took samples, and at that time, carbon dating, you had to have big samples like that. The carbon dating went to the airport here. They flew it into California, went to UCLA, they tested it there, and then brought the results back. Now you can do carbon dating with just a little teeny piece like that. And they've also got another type of carbon dating now that is really quick, and the equipment, USGS is out at Tule Springs. We're the only area on the west here that went through 2 ice ages, and it's documented. We saved that land. So now they can go out there and see see all the layers in that picture you're looking at now. Each one of those are hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands. We go down to that second ice age. So they can follow some of those layers and know exactly where the fossils are. They're all labeled. And Kathleen Springer from the San Bernardino Museum and USGS is doing a lot of the work out there right now on that. And they're doing digging. I found a fossil just not too long ago, and it's a bone from, they think that was brought out by Dawn Reynoso. And she said that, I haven't seen it since she took it out, but it was pretty big. It was about like that. And it was a shoulder blade. I know. I was standing there with that. Can you believe it? I'm standing there with Don Reynoso and the other rangers. And I go, hey, take a look at this. It was this big bone. It wasn't a little one. It was big. So that kind of makes you excited because there's so much out there that hasn't been found. And little by little, we're going to have, like at the Ice Age Fossil State Park, we're going to have an area that they want to have people working on fossils. And so the public can see what's out there and things that they bring out, how they're going to clean them off and display them. That's their goal.
Perfect. I got another question for you, Sandy, from Jean Perry. It says, is Helen Morton still involved in fossils at TS?
Yes. Helen has been at home because of COVID. Everybody has their, we have to honor what some people are out all the time. Some people are not. Helen is kind of locked at home, but she's doing fine. We just don't see her.
So we have one more minute for questions. And my question for you, Sandy, is what type of wildlife or animals have been found in these fossil beds?
Oh, alive or dead?
Fossilized.
Fossilized. Okay, it starts with one of the most that you see out there, and Kathleen Springer used to say, if you're out on Tule Springs and you don't find something that has to do with a mammoth, you're not really looking. Camel started here on this continent, and from here they went across the ice and the the strait and went to other parts of the world. Good thing, because they died off here. And then the camel went down south where it was the llama. The horses, a lot of horses here. The camel, the horses, the American lion, which is larger than the African lion. He was found here. Saber-toothed cat. And actually the saber-toothed cat's the logo that the National Park Service put on the little, their little emblem for the park. We're called Tusk, which is really cool because each park has like 4 or 5 letters for their words, like Lake Mead's Lake, L-A-K-E. Tule Spring Fossil Beds National Monument didn't make sense, those letters, if you took the first letter from each one of those words. So they said, hey, how about Tusk? And we go, yeah, we like Tusk. But what other animals? Anything, the saber-toothed cat, the 3 types of horses. Actually, they just found a 4th horse. That was an accident. They Kathleen Springer and Eric Scott that did a lot of the digging out here, and the Super Corps had a lot of fossils. That's the largest find, and that was off of Durango. They brought out like almost 100 pieces of animals from that spot. But Eric Scott was at a museum in California, and he was doing something, and he looked up above and it said Tule Springs, this box. He opened it up, and guess what? It was a horse, a part of a horse. And it was a horse from Tule Springs that had never been discovered before. They had just put it there and didn't know the importance of it. So that was kind of cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't that cool? What a cool story, huh? We hear all these kinds of stories all the time, which is really, really neat. So,
Well,
and there's a lot. We have to be real careful because, you know, when you talk about what you told us about the animals that are being killed and people going in and doing bad things. Well, a couple of our sites have been really ripped completely apart and torn up, and fossils all over the place and broken. And we've had to have law enforcement come in. So we keep people away from some of them. And it's not because we don't want them to see things, but because there's the public, there's bad people out there. And this belongs to us. And we don't, as the Nevadans and for the world, we don't want them destroyed. So we have to be a little more careful now because more
Definitely.
public's out there.
all right, Sandy, I have one last question for you. Deborah's asking, what is your background?
Oh, I have a lot. My degrees are interior design and architecture from Mount Sac and Cal Poly Cremona. And then from there, I did a lot of things. I did Mary Kay for a long time. I sold Mary Kay in Iowa. I showed dogs professionally for almost 20 years. And then I came here and have done real estate for 15 and just retired.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Sandy, for opening our eyes to the fossils found right here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
If you guys want to learn more, go ahead and check out the website, protectorsoftulesprings.org, or email at info@protectorsoftulesprings.org.
Oh, and this is brand new, hot off the press. Just got it today. This is the national parks just did all the birds out here. Isn't that cool? Haven't even gone through it. So, oh, there's the logo. See the national park. Vince Santucci that designs those logos from the national parks, he said what he likes to do on the new parks is use an animal that, and for us, you would think the mammoth, but he chose the saber-toothed cat to make the awareness of the saber-toothed cat.
Oh, I love it. All right. I'm going to have our next presenter, which will be, we'll do the next bingo drawing afterwards, just because that extended our allotted time. But I'm going to have Lily Lutherman come in and do her Northern Nevada virtual hike. She's going to tell us a little bit about what she saw.
Yes, indeed. And I'm just going to share my screen with you guys right now. All right. So we are going to start with Mayberry Park. Can everybody see the screen? Yay! All right, so Mayberry Park is northern Nevada. Is managed by the city of Reno. This park sits along the Truckee River. The path through the park has many interesting features, such as rubber rabbit brush. Fun fact, rubber rabbit brush was researched as an alternative to rubber before synthetic rubber was developed. On plants such as the rubber rabbit brush, you can find galls. A gall is created when an insect lays its eggs under the bark of a plant. The bark acts as an eggshell. Inside this gall is a fruit fly larva. You can check it out. It's wriggling a little bit. There are many different types of galls. Galls can be laid in trees or bushes. This gall is also from a rubber rabbit brush. It's fluffy and it feels soft like cotton. Inside is another fly larva. All these flies feed the birds of the area. Let's crack it open and check it out. Here you can see the mountain bluebird, the state bird of Nevada, which surely loves all of the insects this riparian zone provides. Riparian zones sit along rivers, which help reduce flooding. Mayberry Park is a great place to enjoy the Truckee River. The Truckee River's water is pristine, due to being one of the only watersheds in the country to not flow to the ocean. The Truckee River flows from Tahoe Lake to Pyramid Lake. In such a short distance, it remains clean and clear with little pollution. It is truly an outstanding water with outstanding ecological, aesthetic, and wildlife value. On the river, you can find a lot of different birds, including water birds, such as the mallard duck, which is called a dabbling duck because it has waterproof feathers and it feeds by diving under the water. This is a goldeneye, which is a diving duck. These diving ducks are not waterproof, so they can stay underwater longer as they dive for food. As we check out these two guys, we see them going under, and they'll pop back up in a little while. Here it is.
I don't want to be in.
Miss Starling's This park and river are truly special, and it's a great opportunity to look at many birds and enjoy the beautiful Truckee River. Best part about this park is that it's absolutely free and very accessible right in the city of Reno. All right, now everybody ready for our second hike? All right, welcome to Peavine. As you can see, Peavine, it sits on public lands. There it is right there. We have excellent sagebrush here, though we will also see some field grass. That's cheatgrass. The interesting thing about cheatgrass is that it actually burns hotter than the bunch grasses, which means all these beautiful plants don't get to grow back after wildfires. This cheatgrass grew after a recent wildfire on Peavine. There you could see North Valleys in the distance. And you can even see the aspens in the distance there, bright yellow. We are truly lucky to live in Nevada where we get such a variety from sagebrush to trees that come in such a small zone. As you can see, there's a bird of prey. This mountain truly does support an abundance of wildlife right in the heart of Reno. There you see mule deer, so called because of their extra large ears that's reminiscent of a mule. There are mule deer, cotton-tailed rabbits, black-tailed rabbits, coyotes, and lots of other animals on this mountain. When there are animals around, it's important to keep your dog on a leash. But because these are public lands, which is amazing because over 85% is federally managed lands in Nevada. That means you can have your dog off leash and even enjoy other recreational activities on Peavine Mountain. Here we made it to one of the peaks. As you can see, this guy's pretty excited. In the background there, you saw Silver Lake, which is a wintertime lake. All right, and now Sun Valley Regional Park. Sun Valley Regional Park is managed by Washoe County. This hidden gem features amazing sagebrush landscape, captivating rock formations, and abundant wildlife. It also has recreational facilities, including picnic areas with grills, informational signs, and Lizard Peak, the golf course. As we're walking along the trail, we can see a juniper tree here with a ton of berries on it. Juniper berries aren't just used for gin, they're actually used also for medicinal purposes for several tribes in the area, both south and in northern Nevada. You can see a lot of berries on this multi-use land, which again is managed by Washoe County. In this sagebrush landscape, you see we have just sagebrush, bunch grasses, and not a lot of invasive cheatgrass, which grows in fields, which is very good. It supports a lot of wildlife. Here we see the sagebrush, which is the Nevada state flower. It's called Artemis tridentata for the three-pronged leaves it grows. Over 50% of Nevada is covered in sagebrush. Sagebrush habitat supports over 300 here you see a great example of three leaves of the Paleontology. Very nice. This is truly a beautiful park with a lot of natives, such as Mormon tea, as you can see right here. And more Mormon tea. In a close-up of the Mormon tea, you can see its yellow-green color that gives it distinction. And next to the sagebrush, we see antelope bitterbrush, which is actually related to the sagebrush because, as you can see, it has the tridentata, the three-pronged leaf as well. It's really closely related. In the spring, these will get yellow flowers. And over here you can see some invasive cheatgrass growing along the disturbed areas of the trail. Cheatgrass is terrible because it actually burns so hot that sagebrush can't grow back.
So, any questions?
Where are each of these places located?
All of them are around the city of Reno. Peavine Mountain sits, which is this video here, sits right in the middle of Reno with North Valleys on one side and Northwest on the other side. The north side is my favorite side because it tends to retain the snow for much longer. And Sun Valley Regional Park is also within the city of Reno, which is pretty cool. It's in the Sun Valley area, right by Esther Bennett Elementary School. And it's kind of this beautiful hidden gem because not only does it have short nature guided trails, but it also has extensive trails that go in every direction, which is pretty awesome. And then of course, Mayberry Park is in Northwest Reno and sits along the Truckee River.
Perfect. We got a few questions. We have one from Margaret. She asked, does the sagebrush ever catch on fire?
Yes, in fact, it's a natural part of the sagebrush life cycle to catch on fire and then grow back. However, again, as you might have heard me mention in the videos, the problem with the invasive cheatgrass is that it makes the fires burn hotter than the sagebrush is used to. So even though it's evolved to survive normal wildfires that clear up brush, sagebrush just burns it so hot where it doesn't come back, which has been destroying a lot of our sagebrush habitat and threatening our wildlife.
We have another question from Sandy. She asked, what river is under the metal bridge?
That is the Truckee River. And the cool thing also about Mayberry Park, I didn't really mention on the video, is that the path that goes along it actually goes from Pyramid to Tahoe, all along the Truckee River. It's an amazing, inspiring story of just local activists who are bikers. You know, they were bicyclists who wanted this trail to go from one place to the other, worked really hard, advocated, called their community members, and eventually got this amazing trail with all these parks along it.
We have one more minute of questions if anybody has any. Looks like we have a question from Jean Perry. Peavine and Suns Valley are so developed, Mayberry already surrounded by development. Nice to have great landscapes, but what controls BLM's sell-offs and development? What protection of wild spaces are there for these areas?
I agree that protection for wild spaces is really important. And fun fact, it's actually something we're going to talk about at the end of the call, because we actually we really prioritize not only maintaining wildlife and giving it protection so it doesn't necessarily get despoiled, but we also support wildlife corridors, which is something that's often overlooked. And we actually have petitions on both that's asking our Congress members and your elected officials to please give permanent protections to wilderness and to wildlife corridors.
We have one last question from Patty Dominguez. Can the areas that have been overtaken with cheatgrass be reseeded with sagebrush?
Yes, in fact, there are a lot of projects that go on. One of my favorite volunteer events would be run actually by our own government. They would do an annual reseeding project in certain areas, not just reseeding, but pulling invasives more than just cheatgrass. They had amazing educational materials. It was just a really great experience. So since COVID, that hasn't really been happening. It was an annual event that would happen on Nevada Day, actually. So yeah, but I could try to find, if you want, I can try to find information on it and see if there are any other programs they might be running which are maybe COVID safe, where you could participate, or maybe you can find out how to support those projects where we do take out the invasives and reseed with the good stuff.
Well, thank you, Lily, for giving us a tour of Northern Nevada with some wonderful virtual hikes. I love the videos.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next round of wildlife bingo. So everyone get out your bingo boards. And if you don't have a bingo board ready, let me post the link up. Bingo board. And let me see if I can get Silver, my bingo caller, to come help me make our next calls.
Here I am.
Oh, hey, Silver.
Hey,
All right, you ready to call some more bingo cards?
I sure am.
All right, our next one is Globe Mallow.
That's my favorite flower.
It's really pretty, but I bet it's even tastier. Oh, you shouldn't eat it.
Tortoises love it too.
They do. Very beautiful Southern Nevada plant. All right, our next bingo caller. And once again, if you have bingo, go ahead and just type bingo so we'll know you won. Is Pinyon Pine.
Ooh, yes.
They provide a lot of shade up in the mountains, don't they, Silver? And food. Have you ever had pinyon pines? I mean, pine nuts?
I have.
Ooh. Next up, we have prickly pear cactus.
Yummy.
Very yummy. I've had prickly pear cactus too, Silver.
So yummy.
Very yummy. And the last one we'll call for this segment is Joshua Tree.
We love Joshua trees. Yes,
oh my goodness. Looks like we have a bingo.
I-N-G-O-B-I-N-G-O. Oh, we got two.
Oh my goodness.
You can say bringo too. That's okay.
Well, congratulations to Daniel and Carson. If anybody else has bingo in this round, go ahead and just shout bingo, and my moderators will get back to you and double check your bingo boards. Remember to click at the bottom with the 3 lines. That will tell you your bingo card number and allow us to verify your win. But if you do win, we will let you know at the end how you can get your winning postcard. All right, Silver, give everybody a good luck before we head off to our next section.
Good luck, everyone. You can do it. Keep playing. We've got more to come. Great job, Carson. Great job, Daniel.
And if anyone needs any clarifications on what has been called, you can always speak to my moderator, Chris. He will let you know. But if we have some bingos in the chat, that means you will have to refresh your board next round and we will start again. All right.
Everyone, keep going.
Thanks, Silver.
Thank you, Tori.
All right, I would like to welcome our next special guest. We have Russell Coleman. He's the executive director of the Nevada Wildlife Federation, and he's going to be touch basing on something that actually Lily mentioned, which is wildlife corridors and how important they are for wildlife populations. And with that, I will welcome Russell.
Hello, I'm gonna share my screen here.
Go right ahead.
Try to do this one. All right, can you guys see the zoom on this side here? All right, perfect. All right, well, thank you for having me. I am Russell Coleman, and I'm the executive director for the Nevada Wildlife Federation. And just to confirm, you said you can see the PowerPoint now? Okay, perfect. Yeah, and so today I will be chatting about wildlife corridors, what animals use them, and why they're important, and what you can do to help. So in the simplest terms, wildlife corridors are bridges that connect animals with resources. Typically, these resources are food, shelter, and safety. And although in this picture, you can see that this is obviously a man-made bridge that acts as a corridor, getting animals that live on this side. They utilize this blank space of land to cross over it, which essentially avoids having to cross these 2 very dangerous roads. This picture is actually taken on I-80 near Elko, if you're ever driving that way. But even though this is man-made, a lot of wildlife corridors are natural. They could be a mountain pass, a low water crossing in a river, or a strip of forest connecting 2 larger forests. And even though it seems like common sense that animal needs to travel and use the path of least resistance, actually there's very little known about wildlife corridors and how animals use them. So going to my, so what animals use corridors in Nevada? I would say the big 4 are the desert bighorn sheep, the elk, the pronghorn antelope, and the mule deer. And of those 4, I would say the mule deer is probably the most frequent user of corridors. Although it has been documented that both antelope and mule deer travel up to 150 miles in one direction just to reach these new areas. And to put that in reference, it's about 200 miles from Reno to San Francisco, or about 150 miles from Las Vegas to Flagstaff. So that is quite a bit of walking. And these animals need to travel in order to get the best available food. In the summer months, the highly nutritional grasses are up on the mountaintops or on the ridges. However, during the fall and winter, the snow comes in and forces those animals to move off the mountains into the lower elevations, and animals use corridors and able to make that journey. Security is another big one, why these animals travel so much. And when they group up, they have more eyes looking out for danger. And obviously, the more eyes you have looking out for danger, the safer you are as an individual. And they also give them the opportunity to meet other species of their kind in order to pass on their genes. And lastly, it protects them from the elements. As you know, the seasons move on, it becomes harder and harder to live, whether it's down low in the sagebrush ecosystem or up high, depending on the food source. So these corridors give opportunities for these animals to travel in between the best available food. So again, these corridors are important. Animals are constantly traveling, so they need a lot of food in order to be healthy. And it also ensures their genetic diversity, so the fittest animals are able to pass on their genes and their knowledge to the next generation, so they can survive as a species. And it also helps them find new areas. With during the virtual hike, someone had mentioned about the human development that is cropping up in some of these animals' winter ranges. And so these animals are forced to constantly find these new areas of resources to make it through the year. And in order to do that, they need to constantly be traveling. So moving on to how you can help identify these wildlife corridors. If you ever spot a roadkill animal, typically along the state highways, the best course of action to do is call the Nevada Department of Transportation, or NDOT, and their phone number is highlighted here at 702-385-6500. And what they will do is they'll send someone out not only to clean up the site, but they will mark their location of where it happened. And then once NDOT has all of these locations of roadkill animals, they will share that data with the Department of Wildlife. And then the Department of Wildlife will do intensive research on those animals to identify those hotspots and ensure that less vehicle collisions occur, whether that's putting up a bona fide crossing, like in the previous slide, or just some fencing. And they don't only do that with big game animals, they even have desert tortoise fencing along roads to prevent the tortoise from crossing the road. And the other two things I would flag as being helpful that you can take part of is just be careful when you're driving through these high use areas. Typically there's a sign of an elk or a mule deer, and just be vigilant because these animals rarely are alone and travel in groups. So if you see one animal, chances are there's more in the nearby vicinity. And then lastly, there's a lot of scavenging animals that utilize the roadkill for a free meal. It could be either the golden eagle, a coyote, or another type of scavenging wildlife animal. So just pay attention, because unfortunately a lot of these scavengers do end up getting hit by cars as they're trying to feed. So what I can do now is show a pretty cool website that just came online relatively, I think, last month, and anyone can use this website. And if you go to westernmigrations.net, I think all they ask is an email address, and it gives you this map that you can play around with. But I wanted to highlight, this is the Pequot area, and NDOT was able to identify the winter range of the mule deer that use this. And what's interesting to me is when you overlay these low, medium, and high use corridors, you can see how much they overlap with these winter ranges. So this is the low use corridor, followed by the medium and high. And then but you can see how perfectly they line up. And that's why protecting these wintering grounds for mule deer, elk, antelope, and bighorn sheep are so critical. And this last one here, the stopovers, this highlights every time a deer stayed in one area for more than a few hours. And you can see the traffic jam that I-80 occurs for not just the people driving, but also the deer trying to cross it. And I believe that is where that picture I showed on the first slide is, with the bridge crossing it. And if you wanted to see how many individuals the Department of Wildlife tracks, this is all of the individual migrations. You can see some come all the way up from here, and theoretically will end up way south of I-80. So it's definitely a 100-mile journey for a number of these deer, and it is not a safe journey at all. You have mountain lions and other natural predators, and then once they get to here, it's a big risk also. And they do this twice a year, and it's critical that we identify these areas and protect them, so we're able to give our Nevada species a chance to live free and prosper. And it was pretty short and simple, but I'm happy to answer any questions also.
Can you say that website one more time? I'll type it in the chat.
Yep, it is westernmigrations.net. And it's not just Nevada either. It has Wyoming elk, Arizona elk. It's a pretty in-depth website that had a lot of research and development go into it. But it does highlight a lot of species here in Nevada. It does the Ruby Mountains, and you can see here on the left side all the ones that it does highlight. Sheep Creek.
So does this only track populations of mule deer, or is there multiple different types of species that they're looking for this data or getting this data from?
This individual example was mule deer, but you can, I don't think there was any elk in Nevada, but for Arizona, Wyoming, you can do this for all those species. But I do believe here in Nevada, it was just the mule deer, but they do give you 1, 2, 3, 5 different individual populations.
We have a question from Jean Perry. We need to put conservationists on Nevada Wildlife Commission. How else can we advocate?
I think that, I mean, I absolutely agree. And it's just trying to find the volunteers that are willing to dedicate that time, because that is a very big position and requires a lot of commitment. And there is a number of Nevada conservationists here that were willing to take that job, but it's really just working with the current commission and identifying that you know, we need some real leaders in conservation to step up. And I will say that the current commission does a great job in doing that for us now, but they're always looking for the best and brightest to add to their group.
We have a question from Tyler saying, is hunting permitted along these migration routes?
Yes and no. Obviously, if you have the correct unit and season date, most of this is BLM or U.S. Forest Service. So you can legally hunt on a lot of those migration routes, but when that data is being recorded, a lot of times that's in January, February, March, and hunting season is closed statewide during that time.
Any last questions for Russell before we move on to the next segment? Are there any plans to make new corridors soon?
I haven't talked with NDOT or NDOT on that, but I know there is a very active relationship between the Nevada Department of Transportation and Department of Wildlife. And I think right now, what a lot of people are trying to do within the state is just really identify these areas and get them protected first, and maybe then work on the actual corridors going over the roads. But as I mentioned in the earlier slide, a lot of the corridors are just natural. So it's just a matter of protecting them and making sure that no development is happening along that route.
All right, for our last question, this is from Margaret. She's been spotting coyotes in her area. She was wondering if they come on her property, or she does not want them to come on her property, should she call that number?
I think the best number to call would be your local game warden, and that would be found through calling the Department of Wildlife, and they will be able to put you in touch with an actual warden that will come up to your property and either suggest ways to keep coyotes out or document that they are showing up in your area, and hopefully they can make a larger plan to manage them. But that number probably wouldn't be your best bet. Your best number to call would be someone in the Department of Wildlife in your area in Henderson.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for teaching us about wildlife corridors and how they are important to helping the migration of these populations. Hope everyone checks out that website that he posted, because fairly new. I haven't even heard about it yet, and it'll be really cool to keep track of these populations. So thank you, Russell, for joining us. All right, it's that time again. Let me bring out my lovely assistant, Silver, the bighorn sheep. And let's do some bingo. So we actually had a bingo winner from the last section. Congratulations to, I think it was Daniel. Oh, it was Carson. Congratulations on winning, which means we are going, Daniel won as well. Congratulations to you both. So what that means is we are going to have a new bingo round, which means that if you haven't set up your bingo board yet, it's perfect time to join in. I'm going to post that link right away. And then we are going to start a new bingo calling session. So if you already had a bingo board made, go ahead and clear it out, because we're going to be having new bingo calls. So the first call for today, oh my gosh, Silver, it's the bighorn sheep.
It's me.
It's Silver. Silver, you look, is this an old picture of you? Because it doesn't look like you. It doesn't look like you at all.
Yeah, I got a little fluffy over the pandemic. I've been eating a lot. So I'm a little more slender than what I currently am right now, but that's okay.
All right, after bighorn sheep, we have creosote bush.
Ooh.
I heard it's not very tasty. It's a little bit bitter. I hope you haven't eaten some, Silver.
Very bitter, very bitter.
Blah. After this southern Mojave Desert plant, creosote bush, we have bristlecone pine, oldest trees in Nevada.
So beautiful.
We got Andy saying that creosote smells amazing, though. It does. It smells like a rainfall.
It absolutely smells amazing. It's so bitter.
And we have a Gila monster. Ooh.
Ooh. I know. Hey, isn't that Chance?
Chance. That might be Chance, the representative of the Golden Knights, right?
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chance is a mascot like me.
Are you guys good friends?
Absolutely. But on the weekends when we're not socially distancing.
All right, the last one for this round is going to be cutthroat trout.
Ooh.
This is after our state fish, the Lahontan cutthroat trout. All right, if you have any questions about which ones were called, if you're not sure or not, you can go ahead and post it in the Facebook comment section or on Zoom, and we can verify these picks for you. But thank you, Silver, for joining me for another wildlife bingo round.
Keep going, everyone. We've got more prizes.
Very true. All right. Next up, we have a hike of Southern Nevada. This is presented by me. Let's go ahead and enjoy some of Southern Nevada. A roadrunner on the same path as me. But this paved path is definitely accessible by wheelchair. The soft surfaces are mostly level dirt, and they make for easy walking, so recommended for children, those in wheelchairs, very easy for beginners. So this place was established on May 20th, 1998, and it was officially dedicated and became a place to call home for more than 270 bird species and thousands of bird lovers. So if you're a birder, please check this place out. Get some great views and some great animals, as you can see here. The cost is free, but make sure to check online for operation hours. When I went earlier in November, the place closed at 2 p.m. But this is your chance to see a lot of birds. So here I saw some waterfowl, some mallards, American coots. I saw plenty of raptors, some roadrunners, some Gambel's quail everywhere. Saw some vermilion flycatcher that I wasn't able to show on this video, but I saw them. And then right up here, you'll see a great egret fly on by. Go ahead and check it out. Pretty cool. Chance to get some up and close personal views of these birds that you may never ever see anywhere else. But talking about this place does not do it justice. The best way to experience the bird viewing preserve is to go and view some birds yourself. Make sure to bring a camera to keep your eyes peeled, because you never know what's going to fly by you. And the video doesn't do much justice either. You can't zoom in very well, so some of the birds you can't identify. So make sure to get your camera zoomed and ready to go. Also, the audio was cut out from this video, but the best way to view it is to go on the hike and hear the sounds. It's a symphony of quacks, squawks, chirps, honks that my camera audio could not pick up. But go out and experience yourself. Make sure to hear all the sounds, and you might be able to catch a lot of these birds. So the rest of my video is actually pictures of the birds and the areas that I snapped. So go ahead and check this place out. See if you can catch some birds for yourself. All right, the second place we're going to be checking out is the Valley of Fire State Park. This area is 60 miles northeast of Las Vegas, and it derives its name from the red sandstone formations, as you can see from these videos and pictures, that were formed from the shifting sand dunes over 150 million years ago. Going there puts you into like a sci-fi movie, as you are walking literally on the surface of Mars. Prehistoric inhabitants included the basket maker people of the Anasazi Pueblo farmers from the Moapa Valley, and this was back 300 BCE to 1150 CE. You'll see plenty of petroglyphs walking around these trails, and some of them are included in the virtual hike. I'll show you when they come up. So a little bit about the features of this trail. Most of the trails are not paved. This one in particular, you could see only the leading into the ladder is paved. Everything else is this soft red sand that you kind of trudge through. Not very accessible for handicapped hikers. So I think there's only one paved hike within the Valley of Fire, but everything else is this red sand, so be mindful of that. However, this hike in particular is good for beginners, people with children or not experienced hikers, because for the most part it's pretty leveled. Of course, the red sand has several rocks poking through, so you got to make sure to watch your step. Don't be like me, holding the camera up and not looking where you're going, because you definitely can be able to trip on a lot of the rocks that are hidden within the sand, so you got to be alert. But this hike in particular is not very hard. It's only 30 minutes long, so very doable for short white hikers, and you can always check out the other hikes within the Valley of Fire. This particular hike is called Mouse's Tank Trail. It's named after Mouse, who was an outlaw who used the natural water basin as a refuge for drinking water that he spent here. He spent days, even months, hiding out from the law. The water basin, which I'll show you guys at the end of this hike, is actually dried out by the time I came here in the end of November. But it will flow heavily during the spring months after the winter rainfalls. So make sure to check that out at a later time. All right, we're coming up on some of the petroglyphs that I was able to catch out or spot out. Let me show you guys one of them. The cool thing about these petroglyphs is that they're very much on the trail nearby. They do say not to touch the petroglyphs, so just make sure to keep a safe distance away from them, but they're definitely accessible enough where you can get some great shots like this one. The actual hike is pretty free-form. You're welcome to kind of just walk around, check out the petroglyphs, maybe do a little bit of bouldering if you want, but there is a clear trail that you can follow along to the end with the basin. If you are interested in visiting Valley of Fire, the cost is about $10 per vehicle, and I think it's $25 to camp there overnight. And the park is open from sunrise to sunset, though I've heard it's really cool to check out these areas during sunset. It kind of shines the light through these areas. All right, we're coming up on that water basin, and it's dry. But you can definitely see how somebody would hide out here for an extended period of time. But yeah, go check it out. Check out the petroglyphs. Plenty of hikers on there to give you some details on what's the best place to get some great footage and some great videos. And speaking of footage, this is a great time to get some really nice shots from my camera. So the rest of this hike will be pictures that I took throughout my hike. So enjoy. Pretty cool, right? The time of day I took these were perfect for getting some great shots of these mountains. So check it out. Go check out the caverns and the holes and the hillsides. There's a visitor center you could check out that I think might be closed for quarantine. Go take a look at Valley Fire State Park. All right, the last place I went for my virtual hike was the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. This is located in the Amargosa Valley. It's about 90 minutes northwest from Las Vegas, very close to Death Valley. This area is 24,000 acres of spring-fed wetlands and alkaline desert uplands that is so unique that it is recognized as a wetland of international importance. It is known as the last oasis of Nevada. As you could see from the previous footage, there's about 3 boardwalks. Yeah, boardwalks in the desert that you can walk along and that will lead you to these wonderful springs, these little pieces of water in the desert. This particular spring is Crystal Spring. It's about 15 feet deep and it remains about a temperature of 86 degrees. Pretty nice. Plenty of fish in the area if you could get a zoom camera on it. But the boardwalk is accessible by wheelchair and a pretty light-hearted area to go and check out. There are different areas you could drive to access these boardwalks. This one's very close to the visitor center, which is closed for COVID, but I recommend checking that out once the pandemic has calmed down. But yeah, pretty easy area to go and just enjoy the boardwalk out here and see some wonderful springs full of water and life. Ash Meadows is the discharge point for groundwater extending over 100 miles from the northeast. There are about 30 seeps and springs that bring to the surface fossil water, which entered the groundwater system thousands of years ago. And Ash Meadows, fun fact, is home to 26 endemic species and plants. The most concentration of endemic species anywhere else in the country. Although here you can see one of the endemic species you'll see nowhere else in the world, the Devil's Hole. So the Devil's Hole in Ash Meadows is a water-filled cavern extending into the hillside. You can see the hill over here. It's a short while walk from your car where you can see the caged area, and then you'll see a path extending into the hillside, which will show the other side of the cavern. But in this water-filled cavern lies the Devil's Hole pupfish, one of the rarest species of fish in the world. They live their entire life in this cavern, which is about 450 feet deep, although nobody has ever seen the bottom. Of course, you can't get too close to the hole because it's surrounded by cages, barbed wire, surveillance footage, just to protect the species of fish and to prevent people from drowning or falling into the cavern. But I do recommend checking it out. This little piece of history where this fish resides and nowhere else in the world. In this little desert, nonetheless. But that's it for Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge, the oasis of Nevada. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed my Southern Nevada virtual hike. Does anybody have any questions for the areas that I visited, which was the Henderson Bird Viewing Preserve, Valley of Fire State Park, and the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge? All right, we'll move on to our next bingo calling. Thank you guys for enjoying my virtual hike. Hopefully, if you haven't already, go and check out those places. All of them are pretty relatively close to Las Vegas, so I highly recommend them, and they're very easy to go hike on. All right, looks like I'll need Silver again for some wildlife bingo. Hi, Silver.
Hi.
All right, Silver, looks like we last left on the cutthroat trout for wildlife bingo. Let's see who we have next. Wild Rose. Ooh.
Wow.
I've only seen Rose in my neighborhood. I've never seen Wild Rose. Have you, Silver?
Oh, I've never seen that. I bet that's
Ooh.
beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Yes, wild rose actually grows along the rivers a lot in northern Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Guess you got to get up there farther north, Silver.
Absolutely.
Up next, we have the Great Basin Desert. I think you said this was your home, Silver, right?
Yeah, I love that area. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Mountain Bluebird.
Ooh. I have
Very-
a couple that are my friends.
Oh, really?
They're beautiful.
Did you know that the mountain bluebird was our state bird?
Really?
Yep. So you got to tell your bird friends that they are representative of Nevada, just like you.
I will let them know we're on the same list.
Mm-hmm. All right, so far we've had Great Basin Desert, Wild Rose, Mountain Bluebird. Up next we have, oh, we got Pinyon Pine again. Hope you all have had pine nuts before. They're very delicious.
Good.
Mm-hmm. And remember, if you think you have bingo, go ahead and just type it in the chat, yell bingo, and one of my bingo moderators will double check your board. You'll just have to click on the 3 lines at the bottom. You'll get your bingo card number, and you will use that to verify your win.
Don't forget to tell us.
Yeah, don't forget. All right. Our last bingo call for this segment is a drum roll, please. The burrowing owl.
Oh, wow.
I have a few burrowing owl right around the corner from where I live.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They love to poke their little heads out. It's very cute. All right, so that's your bingo calls for this segment. Make sure to keep track of what you've been called. And if you have any questions on what's been called, you're not sure if one thing was called or another, make sure to type that and we'll verify that it was called or not. But thank you, Silver, for joining us for this segment.
Keep playing, everyone. Tori, do we have any winners?
Oh, do we have any winners? Anybody close?
Raise your hand if you're close. Oh. Come on, Lily. You got this.
Looks like Daniel's in for a second win.
Oh, man. Daniel's the man with the plan tonight.
And if you missed any bingo calls, you can always post which ones you remember, and we can verify which ones you are missing. All right, we'll see you later Silver till the next session.
Keep going, everyone.
And I'm going to bring back my co-host Lily, who's going to talk about current events in action, how you guys can get involved for Wildlife Conservation Day.
That's right. Well, first, I'm actually going to lead off with the current events, which are actually a lot of good news, which I think we all need this year in 2020. So basically, I'm going to start off with something exciting that just happened, and it's been a long time coming. On Earth Day in 2019, Governor Sisolak signed an executive order to advance Nevada's climate goals by mandating a climate strategy to come out December 1st, 2020. And after a lot of work and a lot of Nevadans across the state coming together and helping to shape that climate strategy, it actually did come out on time, which is so awesome, just a couple days ago on December 1st. And I was especially excited about this climate plan, seeing it come out, because it was fed by an uncommon diversity of voices, given that we had more opportunities as citizens to give our voices than before. There were climate strategy surveys going out, as well as the opportunity to comment by email or phone. And also, of course, the virtual listening sessions where everybody could just basically sign up, and sometimes there are 200 people on there at a time, and give their comments as a citizen on what they think priorities should be on different subjects, from urban planning and electric vehicles, just across the gambit, all the way to climate justice. So I'm really excited about this climate initiative strategy, which again, just came out on December 1st. So that's just fantastic news for our environment, health, and building our clean energy economy in Nevada. So that's one great piece of news in current events. The next is that earlier this year in June 2020, Governor Sisolak announced Nevada's own Clean Cars initiative, and he did this in defiance of the Trump administration's clean car rollbacks, which just happened and was very worrisome for all the asthma sufferers in the state and all the people who know how bad the air quality is. And I think we all feel that, especially after this summer of wildfire and smoke adding to our pollution problems. And you may not know this, but earlier this year, the American Lung Association gave a State of the Air report listing Nevada, giving Las Vegas and Reno Fs and Ds, and all across the state F, Ds, and Cs on our air quality. So that's not such great news, but the good news is that we took charge and we went in defiance of this. Governor Sisolak announced the Clean Cars Initiative in June, and we are pushing forward with it. And hopefully with the next 2021 legislative session, our elected officials will commit to this, especially if we remind them to commit to this, and push for electric vehicles incentives in Nevada. And then, of course, we all might be thinking about the November election. There were a lot of victories. A lot of environmental champions that were endorsed by the Nevada Conservation League were elected, which is super awesome. And biggest thing ever, question 6 passed. For those who don't know, that's the Renewable Standard Portfolio, which just basically means we are setting climate goals to get to 50% by 2030. We want to get to that level. And that is what that is all about. And so now it is enshrined in our Constitution because we voted on it again and again. And so now there's a real path forward for Nevada in our climate goals. And actually, this is just a new part. Breaking news just hours ago. The Desert National Wildlife Refuge, which was in trouble, as of today, it was still in trouble from this military bill, which would basically allow a large portion of it to be given to a local Air Force base, which would allow practice bombing. And again, for the record, they could already fly over the refuge. They just wanted to also bomb it, which isn't so great for all the petroglyphs there. And it just breaks the hearts of all of us who love the desert bighorn sheep. and Gila monsters and desert tortoises that live there, and who appreciate the sacred sites and the pictographs that are there, petroglyphs that are there as well. So great news, that has been defeated as of today, as of just hours ago. So that is fantastic. And it's absolutely because of work of everybody probably on this call and your friends and family, because so many of us care about it. Literally thousands of people contacted their representatives and also signed petitions for this. And I will actually share in the chat box what was basically a call to action to call them. But what I would like to ask everybody to do here is to call and thank these environmental champions of Nevada for helping to protect the Desert National Wildlife Refuge and for really standing up to a hard battle and making that happen. So that link, it might say, please, like when you get there, it says, please let them know, don't do this, don't let this happen. I would like to, again, ask everyone to call and thank them for not letting it happen and for standing up for Nevada's environment and for us. So that's with all the great news. However, as I might have mentioned earlier, the pollution problem in Nevada is not good. And we are actually behind on our goals for our climate strategy and for getting to 50% by 2030, which is very unfortunate. But fortunately, there is a path forward in several ways. One is embracing what biodiversity gives us in Nevada. Nevada is the 7th most biodiverse state in the United States. However, we rank 3rd among all states for having the highest percentage of species at risk, in part due to destruction of historic migration corridors, which we have mentioned several times already. And because of that, we would like to ask you to please, and I'll drop this link in the box, sign this migration corridors petition, just letting our elected officials know and our environmental champions in Nevada that this is a priority for us. And we know of the true value of preserving these migration corridors, especially with all we've learned from our speakers today. And then another thing we can all do, as was also mentioned earlier, is to just give permanent protections to wilderness that are important to them. So I'm going to put that link in the box right now. And you might not know this, but today only 5% of the United States is actually protected as wilderness. And that contributes a lot to the declining wildlife population crisis. We need to impress upon our representatives the need to protect more areas from future threats by establishing additional wilderness areas. And we need to protect the wilderness we have. So again, please tell your elected officials today that we need to prioritize protecting wilderness for the sake of our wildlife and our iconic landscapes both, which we want to enjoy and share with future generations. And then another big thing, the EPA celebrated its 50th birthday on December 2nd. The bummer is that the EPA has been weakened a lot over the past 4 years. And it has been weakened mainly from underfunding and slashing of important protections that were put there for our health and environment by the outgoing Trump administration. So what is really important right now is repairing the damage done to the EPA and reinvigorating it so we can meet our climate goals. So now I would like to ask everyone to sign this birthday card to the EPA, thanking it for all it gives to us, and also again, urging our elected officials to please prioritize this, because we know we don't have a lot of time left. We don't have time to wait on this. And the cost of not dealing with climate change is a lot more than the cost of dealing with it now. And lastly, I would like to, again, reiterate, we are fortunately behind on our climate goals, but we have a chance to turn it around. 2021 legislative session is right around the corner. There is already rumblings of a lot of really important environmental bills, and many important environmental issues will be addressed in that session. So make sure to stay tuned with the Nevada Conservation League on our Twitter or Facebook and also, of course, stay connected with your organizers in order to learn more about the latest developments and learn how to add your voice, especially in the age of COVID. In fact, we are planning on doing some sort of virtual conservation day. Like you might remember in 2019, we did a conservation lobby day. We would like to still have people participate. We still want people to be able to connect with their politicians, but in a safe way. So we are working on that, and please stay tuned to learn how you can virtually connect with your politician and tell them what's important to you in 2021.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lily, for updating us on what we can do to help protect our environment, protect our climate. So make sure those links are in the chat, and I will post those on the Facebook chat as well. So you guys watching on Facebook can get a chance to sign these petitions, sign the EPA birthday card, and thank your politicians for protecting the Desert National Wildlife Refuge. See, I had a slide saying, give DNWR permanent protection.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really just happened. And again, because of everybody who care enough, like people who came to our event today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for protecting the environment. And I want to give a quick thank you, but before we go on to thank yous, actually, let's do our final bingo drawing. All right, Silver, let's see if we can get one last winner before we end for the evening.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like we last left on the burrowing owl. Nice little tiny owl species that goes underground. Up next, we have the Mojave Desert.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
I love it too. It's nice and hot, just how I like it. Make sure that you're keeping track on your bingo board, which ones have already been called. And if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat because we want to get you a prize. Up next, we have Pyramid Lake.
Oh, it's such an important lake.
It is. Way up north.
Yep.
It's very important to a lot of tribes too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we have sagebrush.
We learned so much about sagebrush from Lily earlier.
We did. Probably one of the most common plant species you can see in the entire state.
And incredibly important to our ecosystem, especially the sage grouse.
Definitely. I hear the sage grouse will love to eat this stuff.
Bingo, Carson.
Oh, looks like Carson actually got bingo this time. Yay!
Carson.
So Carson, just like before, if you have the same code, go ahead and just type it in and we'll verify it. If you have a new code, then you can add that in too, and we'll just double check your bingo, make sure you got it right. But we hope you win and congratulations.
Absolutely. Good job.
Looks like he was confirmed a winner. All right, Silver, give them a big congratulatory win.
All right. So we've had Daniel and Carson tonight. Good job, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for participating in the Wildlife Bingo. I hope you enjoyed it, even if you didn't win. And for the winners, I hope you guys enjoy your postcards.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Good job, everyone. Thank you for playing with me.
And give one last round of applause for our wonderful bingo caller, Silver. All right.
Thanks for having me, Tori.
Bye, Silver. We'll see you next time.
We love you all. Thanks for celebrating wildlife.
All right. Thank you guys for participating and joining us for Wildlife Conservation Day. I want to give a quick thank you to our partner volunteers and organizations that supported this effort. We have Russ from the Nevada Wildlife Federation, everybody from Nevada Conservation League, Sandy from the Protectors of Tule Springs. We have Annette from Battleborn Progress, and especially give a thank you to you guys, the volunteers, you supporters of wildlife conservation efforts, and you guys are the true impact to help our community. So make sure to click those links that we posted earlier, and we'll send a follow-up email with those links as well in case you forgot to take them down, so you can have a chance to sign some petitions and help out some wildlife. But that's all I have for today. Thank you, Lily, for being a wonderful co-host. Thank you, Silver, for being a great bingo caller. And thank you, everybody, for attending.
Round of applause for Tori for hosting.
Good job,
Thank you, Tori.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And we'll see you at the next Nevada Conservation League event. Bye, everybody.
Bye.